Sneakers and Fur Coats, the number one podcast brought to you by Bo Skaggs, Jody P, and Bo Skaggs. It's wonderful. Sneakers and fur coats, 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 sneakers and fur coats. We got Jody P, sneakers and fur coats. They call me Bo Skaggs, sneakers and fur coats, sneakers and fur coats, sneakers and fur coats, sneakers and fur coats, sneakers and fur coats. True hip-hop, health, wealth, the Bible, conspiracies and everything else. We got sneakers and fur coats, sneakers and fur coats. Jody P, Bo Skaggs, sneakers and fur coats.
It's your boy Bo Skaggs, and you are now listening to Sneakers and Fur Coats, the number one podcast on the internet with your girl, my girl, the number one host on the internet. Make some noise for Jody P.
Skaggs. Thank you, Scagnity.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Today we're switching gears a little bit. We're going to be doing a wealth segment on Sneakers and Fur Coats, and we're going to be talking about breaking into the real estate business, because I know people ask me all the time, Joe, how did you do it? How do I do it? Where should I begin? All these different variables. And, I like to help people, and I like I like helping people break into the business. It's very gratifying for me, as a matter of fact. And we're going to answer some questions of, some audience questions.
Yeah, before we get into that, Joe, tell people a little bit about your background in real estate.
Yeah, so I was a real estate broker in New York City for 10 years. I was the top listing agent at City Habitats in my first 9 months with the firm. So I'm definitely, I was successful there in my tenure there. And aside from that, I also followed real estate gurus all over the country. I did that for 10 years before I even pulled the trigger. I mean, some might say analysis paralysis, me, I just say cautious. So, but, I don't think I needed to wait that long. When I finally did it, you need to just fall down. You need to make some mistakes before you are successful. And that's just the way it is in business. And it's okay. It's okay to fall down and you learn from them. But so I have been a Airbnb host and landlord since 2018. December of 2018, I had my first guest, and I have had very great success in the business, and I'm looking to buy some more properties now, and that's it.
Okay,
that's it in a nutshell.
All right, so what that means is Jody P knows her stuff. All right, so
a little bit. I'm not saying I'm the greatest expert of all times, but I could definitely help you get started.
All right. Well, we do got a few questions from some of the listeners. I'm just gonna kick it off with this one. This was a frequent question. All right. So, can you get a property if you have no credit or bad credit, or if you have good credit and no money? Now, how does that work?
Okay. So, if you have good credit and no money, let's start there. Let's quantify no money. I mean, no money, you have to have income.
All right. Well, let's say you can't make the down payment.
You can't make the down payment. You're going to have to save it up, basically. If you're a first-time home buyer and you want to be an owner-occupant, which is highly recommended, that's what I did with my first property. I had a 3-family, and I lived in one of the units, and it paid my mortgage, plus I made money. But with an FHA, with a first-time home buyer's loan, you could get a property with 3.75% down. So, for a $100,000 property, you'd be putting down $3,075, with closing costs, and your down payment, maybe you're at $8,000. You know what I mean? I just feel like that is a very small amount of money to save up. Anyone can do that. If where there's a will, there's a way. If you really want it, you can make that happen. And, I personally always recommend the more doors under your roof, the better, because you only have one roof, you only have one yard, you only have one snow removal, and like if you buy if you buy a single family home, you live in it, you're a slave to that mortgage. Like you pay that every month. You have no money coming in. You pay the mortgage. I'm not against that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't buy an expensive gift to self, but like I always say, you should always purchase a multi-unit first, because you buy a 2-family, you live in one, the other one pays your mortgage. You have a 3-family, you live in one pays the mortgage, and one puts a little bit of money in your pocket. And you have a 4-family, you live in one pays the mortgage, and 2 put money in your pocket. So the more doors you have, the more money you make. And so what was the other question? If you have bad credit?
Yeah, if you have bad credit.
If you have bad credit, there are some programs that will, give you a mortgage. NACA is one of them. That's NACA, like Nancy, A Apple, C Charlie, A Apple. They are nationwide. They are a private group. They are not funded by the government. And truly, it's real estate's best kept secret. Basically, they will approve you as long as you have a job. You have to have a job for 2 years in the same industry, or a steady job for 2 years. And as long as you have that, even if you have bad credit, they will approve you for a mortgage. And they will approve you for a mortgage with no money down, $0 down. And they will give you a mortgage rate that is 0.25% lower than the going rate. Whereas normally, if you're getting a mortgage, your mortgage rate is contingent upon your credit. So if you have great credit, your mortgage rate is going to be very low, the lowest possible. It can't be 0, but it'll be the lowest going rate. Whereas if you have poor credit, the worse your credit is, the higher interest rate is going to be, and hence the higher your monthly payment is going to be. So, NACA is a way to do that. The stipulations for NACA are only that you must have a job, and your job has to be able to pay your monthly payment. So, and then in order to close, like I said, you don't need closing costs. You don't need a down payment. They will fund 100% of your property. You just need to have 3 months reserve, 3 months mortgage payments in the bank the day you go to closing. And then that's it. You could take it out the next day. So you need to have 3 months reserves, and that's it, and have a job. And they will, but it takes 6 months to a year. That's the other thing. NACA takes time, and you have to go, the first step, you sign up, you take their workshop. You go to one of their workshops. It's 2 hours long. At that time, they assign you a number. You take that number, and you have 1 year to go and get your mortgage, get approved for your mortgage. They assign you a counselor. You go have a meeting with them. They tell you the steps you need to take. They tell you, if you have something on your credit report, they'll help remove it, or they'll have you write a little 1-paragraph letter stating why that's there. Really, it's just a formality. Doesn't matter if you have bad credit. They are going to give you a mortgage. Okay. So that's how you could do it with bad credit. Another way you could do it is just not have the property in your name. So let's say you have poor credit, but you have the money.
Right.
You do an LLC with somebody who has good credit. You bring the money, or you bring, let's say, more of the money, and they bring less of the money, and that's the trade-off. They put their name down, their good credit, because credit is money at the end of the day. That's another way to do it. Another way to do it would be you find a really good deal for a big money investor who has the money and the credit and has no time. And then you put in the sweat equity and you get a percentage of the property. You get a percentage of that LLC. Let's say you get 35% and they get 65%. That's another great way to get in.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are other creative financing ways of doing things. Like you could do rent to own, lease option to buy. Cities where the real estate market is poor, those are the cities where you can do that.
All right,
Smaller cities, places like that.
Okay, well, speaking of cities, this is another question. What cities are good for rental properties, and like what are the best cities? Like, all right, before we get to that, before we get to that question, I want to ask you something else that they've been saying. Okay, now what is better, passive income or flipping the house?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question.
First explain what flipping the house
Okay,
is.
flipping is where you purchase a house below market value and either you fix it up and sell it for market value or above market value, or you just flip it, and that's called wholesaling. So let's say you buy a wrecked house for $30,000 and then you can turn around and sell it for $40,000. You pocketed a quick $10,000. That's basically it. Or you could fix it up and make, $50,000, $100,000. That requires work and that requires an upfront investment. I myself, I'm not into flipping. I don't like to fix things. I'm very bad at that. Okay. I can't even wrap my mind around it. Just too much for me. But that's what people use flipping for. But flipping is not a way to wealth. Flipping is a way to make quick cash. It's like a drug deal. You know what I mean? You make some quick cash. That's basically what it is. It's not that it's a bad idea. I mean, I don't knock it by any means. I mean, a lot of people use flipping to get up their cash to ultimately get rental properties for passive income. Because ultimately, wealthy people have passive income. That is the key to getting out of the rat race. If you do not have passive income, you will never be out of the rat race. It doesn't matter if you make $2 million a year. You could fall and break your leg tomorrow and you can't go to work. You could get cancer, God forbid. What if you want to take a 1-month vacation? Well, that's out. Because you don't work, you don't eat. So you need passive income. Wealthy people, the average wealthy person has 6 to 7 streams of income, and passive income is definitely in there. Because if you've ever read the book, and I highly recommend it, Richest Man in Babylon, it talks about how the money you make, it was written on a 4th grade level in parable form, and it was written, I think, 1940, and it's based in Babylonian times, and it's written in parable form. And so it's, it's ancient. So they're talking about these pieces of gold that you make when you work. You have to consider each piece of gold a slave. Each one of those slaves has to go and work for you. And then each one of those slaves, you want them to reproduce and have children and then grandchildren, and their children and grandchildren should also work for you. So I highly recommend that book. That's like a 1 to 2 day read, and it's just brilliant. I mean, it's timeless, it's ageless, it's amazing. Teaches you how to buy, when to sell, when to borrow, when to lend. I mean, it's just brilliant.
All right. So if I had, if someone had, $40,000 and they were going to say, okay, I got 40 grand. Should I buy this property to flip, or should I take it and get rental properties? What would you suggest? What would be your go-to?
Well, I mean, it depends on the deal. It depends on how low you're getting this flip, or, versus a rental property. I like to say, okay, so you have $100,000. Do you buy one expensive property for $100,000? Do you buy $1 million property and put $100,000 down? Or do you buy for $100,000, you could get 5 properties, if you mortgage them. Do you buy something cash, or do you buy, you could leverage that money. And the reason why real estate is so so profitable is because if you buy $100,000 worth of stocks, how much do you spend on those stocks? $100,000. Whereas if you buy $100,000 in real estate, you only have to put down $20,000 and the bank funds the rest of it.
Right. Okay.
So, you're buying wholesale as it is. But passive income, for me, if you want to become wealthy, you need passive income. And, I read this book that Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump, I read every Kiyosaki book. So don't come for him. Do not come for him. He's controversial, but I don't want to hear what anybody has to say about him because the guy is a genius. And
Okay.
he taught me so much of what I know. I have so much respect for him. But he and Donald Trump wrote a book in 2004. And this is also why I love Donald Trump and why I've always supported him. Because that book was they were just so real and honest in that book. Why We Want You to Be Rich. They both told you they each would write a chapter, each would write one chapter and they'd go back and forth. Donald Trump said the reason why he wanted you to be rich is because the middle class literally carry the entire United States because the rich don't pay taxes, the very wealthy, because they have loopholes and they have friends, depending on how wealthy and how high up they are. And then the poor don't pay taxes. So the middle class carry the entire country. So if the middle class loses their footing, like if we lose our middle class, because we're like the only country in the world that has a middle class, like all second and third world countries. Even Europe, it's wealthy or it's poor and there's nothing in between. If we lose our middle class, the American dream is gone. And then all these countries that have lent us all this money, like China, for example, they're just going to be able to, once they decide, oh, nobody wants to live there anymore, we want our money back. That's going to be a really bad thing. Have you ever seen their army?
Right. Yeah.
They're quite frightening.
Yeah.
It's just going to open us up. Like next thing you know, the Arabs come in and we have Sharia law. Anything could happen. So the point is our middle class is the pinnacle. It is what is supporting the entire country. And it is also why the rest of the world wants to come here. For that is what fuels the American dream. So, Donald Trump made a lot of sense with that. But so they were saying that what are the three things that wealthy people invest in? Okay, what they said was, what do the poor invest in? What do the middle class invest in? And what do the wealthy invest in? The poor invest in an outfit for Friday night. The middle class invests in these very poor performing assets, if you want to call them that they were taught to invest in by the wealthy who want you to be their slaves, like mutual funds, CDs, stuff like this, things that don't really give you a lot of mutual funds, give you chump change. And then when you're 65, you'll be lucky to get anything. They're getting all the money because it's their hedge funds that are investing in these things. So they're getting all your money. So what do the wealthy invest in? Well, the wealthy invest in three things. They invest in hedge funds, which are too cost prohibitive for the average middle class person because you need $1 million liquid just to get in. So that cancels out the majority of the population. Then you have derivatives, which they themselves cannot even describe or tell you what it is, what it means, or what even is this thing called a derivative. They don't even know themselves, and that is by design. As a matter of fact, I worked in derivatives, my first job in New York City back in 1994, and I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what it is. I was in derivatives in Latin American banks because I spoke Spanish. But so then the third thing that they invest in that all wealthy people have, it is real estate. And they buy and hold for passive income. Now, they know these things, so their kids know these things. They grew up seeing this, so they know. And that's how they get wealthy, and that's how they stay wealthy, because ultimately you need passive income.
Okay.
Because, one day you're not going to have an active income job anymore. You're not going to have a jobby job. So then what? You need money still coming in from your investments. And you could go and you get $100,000. You could buy a really nice car or two, Or you could buy a really nice house as an expensive gift to self. Or you could postpone instant gratification and you could purchase 5 single family homes and rent them out.
Okay.
For $1,000 a month. And let's say you're netting $500 a month on each property. So with 5 properties, that's what? $2,500 a month. The bottom line is you need to figure out what are your monthly expenses. What are your monthly expenses? What is your monthly overhead? Figure out that number, write it down, wrap your mind around it. Okay, I need $5,000 a month to survive. I need 5 properties. I need $10,000 a month. I need 10 properties. Whatever it is and however much money they bring in. So that's the key to wealth, passive income.
Okay, so you would say passive income. Okay,
Absolutely.
All right, so let's say this. All right, let's say you got your property, and you want to put some tenants in it. You want to start renting it out. Is Airbnb a better route to go, or is long-term rentals a smarter way to go?
Well, it depends on what city and what town you're in, what market you're in, because they're cracking down on vacation rental properties like crazy everywhere.
Before we get into that, let's just long-term rentals or Airbnb rentals.
Okay. For me personally, the market I'm in right now outside of Pittsburgh, I would not want long-term renters.
And why is that?
Well, first of all, your long-term rent is going to be around maybe, let's say, a great rent would be $2,000, and that's very much pushing it. Let's say on average, it's going to be $1,000, depending on how many bedrooms you have. Airbnb, even if it's rented out for half the time, it's going to be $2,500 a month. Also, Airbnb, Vrbo, Expedia, these different vacation rental platforms, they have insurance policies. So if somebody wrecks something, they have to pay for it, number one. Number two, people don't usually wreck things because they don't want to pay for it, and plus they're not there long. Long-term tenants cause a lot of wear and tear on your property. So, with a vacation rental property, you furnish it, you pay some money up front, maybe $5,000 to furnish it, but then it's all set. And what I have found is with my Airbnb guests, a lot of times over the years, I would say 35% of the time, people will ask me once they get in there, listen, can we work something out? I want to stay 6 months. I want to stay 3 months. Can we work something out and I'll, pay you a little less. And it's extremely lucrative. And where I am, there will never be a crackdown on Airbnb because nobody cares.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. What cities would you say, I know this is, it's a lot of cities. So what cities would you say would be the best places to do Airbnb?
I have to tell you.
Just in the broad spectrum.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I worked with some really, really big investors in New York City. And these are people with multiple millions of dollars. And they would be getting a 5% return on their investment. The day you go to closing on a passive income property, you should be making no less than 9.5% to 10%. That is unheard of in a large cosmopolitan city like New York City, Washington, D.C., places like that. It's very, very difficult. The properties are in very high demand. And then in these larger cities, they're liberal. They have liberal governments, and there's just so much red tape, and they just have their hand out for everything. And also, you don't even have control of your property. Someone could just come pay 1 month rent, or not even that month rent. Well, they have to pay the first month to move in, and then they'll just never move out. It'll take 7 months to evict them. You don't even have control of your property. Who cares if your name is on it? You have no control over it. But in a small city or a small town, you have all control. At least where outside of Pittsburgh, it's a very conservative place. You want to go to conservative cities, conservative towns, small towns. But, at the end of the day, you need to be close to your property, especially if you're starting out, because you're going to need to manage it yourself, and especially if it's Airbnb. So really, you should be trying to stay as close to home as possible. If New York City is your home, then you need to find a place like a little further upstate, like maybe above the Hudson Valley, somewhere above there where it's less expensive, it's more reasonable. Maybe Jersey City or somewhere in North Jersey is reasonable.
So Airbnbs, do they work better in like places where the cost of living is less, or do they work better in a place where the cost of living is higher?
Yeah, so the way I like to buy a property that is at or below the median house price range. So like that would be like $200,000 or less. And ideally, you want the rents to be at the median price or higher. So you want high rents, low property costs. And that is your goal. So
that's how you get your return on your investment really quickly.
Yes, that is correct. So the cheaper the property, the more money you're going to make. Now, if you know an area very well, like their properties are rated A, B, C, and D, right? An A property is a very wealthy neighborhood with mansions. That's not really good for rental income. A B property is a nice upper middle class suburb, where the houses are nice and, maybe you could rent that out. That's definitely a good place. You could have, maybe they have sidewalks, maybe it's not quite suburban. Those are good. A is most expensive, B is less, C is less. C is getting borderline. It's like sort of maybe some crime, maybe, a little sketchy. Maybe it's block by block. A D neighborhood, you don't even want to go there. People think, oh, you could go buy something in a bad neighborhood and make it nice. Well, yes, but nobody wants to go there. Right. No one wants to go there. And then you don't even want to collect the rent. Like I have a friend that owns 40 doors in Buffalo, and that's a fantastic market, by the way. I think it's one of the top markets this year for rental income. And I mean, the property values it's very cheap there. It's very easy to get approved. That's another thing. New York City, it takes 3 months to get a loan. In a market like Pittsburgh or Buffalo, like these types of blue collar cities, it takes 1 month. It's just so much easier. But like places like that, like he won't even collect the rent. Like you could get shot at the door.
Yeah. I don't think nobody want to get shot while they're trying to collect.
Right, like you gotta like Donald Trump. He used to go with Fred, his dad, to Bed-Stuy and Bushwick to pick up rents, and his dad Fred taught him, you knock on the door and you step to the side.
That's crazy work.
Yeah, you don't want them to know who it is, and you don't want them to shoot you if they know who it is. So yeah, you don't want a D neighborhood. But now the sweet spot is if you can find a property on a nice little section of a C market. Okay. So in order to do that, you need to know the market very well, like the back of your hand. That is a score, because you'll get a very inexpensive property and you could get good rents. And Airbnb, no one really looks up your neighborhood. That's another thing. So even if you're in a zip code that says it's high crime, but your neighborhood isn't, they're not going to know anyway. And that's the other beautiful thing about vacation rental properties.
Okay. All right. Well, that's Big Joe Show, aka Jody P. Giving us the 411 on the rental properties and all that.
Yeah, and we could do subsequent shows about this going forward if people want to hear more, and go into greater detail. But yeah, the big picture, try to get a multi-unit property, try to get a first-time home buyer loan for 3.75% down, live in it, rent out the other units, ideally vacation rentals if you're in that type of market. If not, just try to get long-term tenants. Midterm is even better. If you have traveling nurses, people traveling for work, those are also good. Like they come and they stay, maybe 3 to 7 months. Those are good too. But then you're gonna need to furnish it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all
that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I hope that we was able to, answer some of your questions and, give you a firm look into, real estate and passive income and, things of that nature. But we can't get out of here, Joe, until we do the song of the day.
Oh no, we
Right?
can't.
All right, so we're gonna get into the song of the day. It's yours truly, Bo Skaggs, for sure. This one is off the Revival as well.
Best album, the
it's-
best.
It's called They Don't Like Me.
Love it.
Off the Revival album. Here it is. They Don't Like Me.
Flawless.
I started from the bottom, made something out of nothing. I came a long way from ducking the D's, cousin. You never make it that way, they don't believe nothing. My homies take everything, they ain't gon' leave nothing. I can recall nights when I was sleeping in the street. I ain't begged for nothing, I had to hustle to eat. Same clothes for weeks, my shoe game was weak. And when I tried to holler, shorties turned the other cheek. They made a mockery of Bo. Now I'm hopping with the dough. I'm buying up everything, but I ain't stopping at the store. Oh, you ain't messing with me? Very bad decision, I'm big in this jurisdiction. My squad is the coalition. Remember days of twisting, cooking up in the kitchen. I put that all behind me now, cause I'm a Christian. I don't talk, but you do shit listen. It's not my fault if you wind up missing. They don't like me, cause I changed, I'm a little bit different. And what else? I put that all behind me. I'm still real, but now I'm a Christian. Yeah. They don't like me, cause I changed, I'm a little bit different. And what else? I put that all behind me. I'm still real, but now I'm a Christian. You boys need to get in where you fit in. I ain't even wanna rap, I just came out spitting. Vocals is crushed linen, I just came out different. I gave it what I gave it, I made it what I made it. They say they don't like Bo, then they playing out hating. First rules to it, never lose to it. You gon' feel like you alone, you just gotta move through it. You gotta build a team, so you can build a dream. Everything ain't a scheme, you just get up on your thing. Family first, no friends in my circle. I ain't trying to go commercial, I'm just trying not to hurt you. Got blood on my hands, I've been trying to wash it off. See, COVID-19 got everybody scared of coughs. See, winning is the worst, but it's easy to take a loss. It's hard to show them the way, but it's easy to flick them off. I put that on my moms, my Uncle Jay and my pops, my sons, Tamus and Tweez. I hate that I had to leave. Well, I guess I'm just asking for forgiveness. I'm sincere, let God be my witness. Real talk, I'm so happy I made you. Hold you down, I'm forever your anchor. They don't like me, cause I changed, I'm a little bit different. And what else? I put that all behind me. I'm still real, but now I'm a Christian. Yeah. They don't like me, cause I changed, I'm a little bit different. And what else? I put that all behind me. I'm still real, but now I'm a Christian. You boys need to get in where you fit in.
Yeah. So
I love that.
So
I
that
love
was
that
They Don't Like Me on the Sneakers and Fur Coats podcast by yours truly, Bo Skaggs. Now, if you want to get your songs played on the Sneakers and Fur Coat podcast, what you need to do is email your songs to jandbstudios@yahoo.com. That's JAND, the letter B, studios@yahoo.com, and we will listen to it and get you a spin on the show. I guess that's it for us tonight, huh?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Until next time.
Peace.
Bye.